guys? Anthony here with Empire Music, empiremusic.com. Phone number at the shop here is 412-343-5299. If you like what you see in the video, shoot me an email, anthony@empiremusic.com, or just give me a call at the shop. So today we're checking out the brand new American Vintage 2 second series, the second iteration of this from obviously the biggest name in the industry, Fender. So this replaces and kind of goes back in time a little bit more than the American Original series. And that's a series that I've always loved. I've always said that if you're looking to kind of jump into custom shop, a little bit of the custom shop experience, never quite the same thing. And as a custom shop player, trust me when I say that. But a lot of value was in the American Original series, and equally as much here in the American Vintage 2 series. Now, it looks identical to that bass. Like when I pulled it out of the box, I said, oh my God, what's the difference? Well, once I played it, once I looked at some of the specs on there, really immediately upon touching it, I noticed a few things that were different. So there's a different pickup in here. This has a pure vintage 60 pickup in it, so 1960 style, versus a pure vintage 63. Now you might not think that's a big deal, but I interpreted this as definitely a warmer sounding pickup, a little less punchy than the 63, which I kind of like. I like the earlier stuff. It tends to have a little bit more compression for me. It tends to have a little bit more dynamic response, which I like. If you watch my videos, I always say that stuff. This certainly has it. A slab rosewood fretboard is also a really big one, where we were talking probably, it was a laminate, probably a round laminate. It just said a rosewood fretboard on the American Original. I think that might have been a round lamb fretboard, round laminate, so plies of rosewood, where this is one slab piece, and it looking down at it, just visually, it's that very narrow, if you can kind of see on the side view there, it's got the very narrow piece of rosewood there, but that's one piece. Now, you know, what's the big deal there? Maybe nothing, maybe you don't interpret anything like that, but as someone that loves a one-piece neck, so like I love a one-piece maple neck, right? That's like my favorite thing, specifically on a P bass. I like that because it's just, you know, the string hits the fret, it's resonating through one piece of wood. Well, rather than having the neck and then plies of rosewood, we have just a slab, one chunk of rosewood there. Does it get more resonance? Does it get a more organic sound? I like to think that it does. I like to think that I notice it. Maybe it's just, you know, your eyes kind of talking to your mind there and it's playing a trick on you. But I always feel the less amount of separate pieces that get in the way of the sound of the instrument coming out, the better. So slab rosewood, kind of a nice addition. And I've played many old school 60s, even 50s style P basses. 50s would be the maple, but when we get it, it looks just like that. It looks just like, it's a more true to spec thing there. 7 1/4 radius, so a more rounded radius. Again, not something that I pick up a lot on until I get into the 12-inch radius. And I just did a video on the Aerodyne right before this, which was a super flat, modern P bass. Now I'm like back to the vintage thing that kind of feels good to me. But between 7 1/4 and 9 1/2, I don't notice, maybe it's just my own ignorance as a player, I don't notice a big difference in that. But this has 7 1/4, so that's a difference. And it's just a C profile on it. So the American Original was a thick C profile on it. Outside of that, you're kind of working with a lot of the same characteristics that we got with the American Original, but a little truer to spec. So when I say we're getting close to custom shop vibe, close to custom shop experience, it's a little bit more of that with this. And it really kind of feels like an NOS custom shop. Not quite the same playing experience with it, but really close. So a lot of good value here. Love this thing. Oh, the nut width too. When I first grabbed this, as someone that always plays 1 3/4 at the nut, at least on P basses, like, man, is this thing a modern P bass, like 1.625 or 1.625? No, it's 1.7. An American Original was 1.73 in the 60s, so it's a little bit more narrow at the nut here. Not drastically noticed. That is one thing that I'm generally acutely aware of when I'm playing an instrument. I think it feels great though. Sonically, it's really nice, really warm, really rich, really strong fundamentals with it. you know, the vintage stuff's kind of right up my alley as far as like P-bass characteristics with it. So let's move our hand around, we'll get some of the dynamic response from the instrument like I normally like to do. So full volume, full tone. Just stop because I'm doing this in real time with you guys. What a great P-bass kind of characteristic up here. Really nice dynamic difference between. So if you're playing in a tune, those big octave shifts that kind of over the often overlooked octave change on bass that can really like bring a lot of tension and release to a tune. Everyone wants to play all this fancy stuff in the chord, but a lot of times just that octave does a lot. Sounds great on this instrument. So just a kind of a real-time visceral reaction that I had to that, but jump back into it. Those chords sounded really good too. Really hear that note separation. And that's something that I think you get a lot of. It's always the case that I make for the slightly underpowered pickup versus the modern pickup, is that you get that nice clarity on the notes and that fundamental out of a passive bass, because it really helps, I feel like. You get into an active bass, all bets are off, because you can EQ that thing so much and with mid sweeps and things like that. And I love that stuff. Like there's a time and a place for that. But when you got a P-bass, single pickup, 2 coils, volume tone, it's really nice to hear that. It's moving like from that minor chord to the major chord. You really, obviously you can hear the tonal difference with the 7th in there, but the separation on, especially on that 9, just sounds really nice. This is a fun instrument to play. Dig back through here. Let's move our hand around too with a little bit. Let's actually roll some tone off while we're at it here. See where that gets us, because I'm kind of interested in this now. Add a little bit there, the magic 80 to 85. bass. Super impressed with this. This, honestly, I didn't really pick this up much. I barely warmed up on this thing, so and all of my videos are pretty, you know, like just kind of like doing it in real time with you guys. It's why, you know, hopefully that comes across. But I'm surprised is the wrong word. I didn't think they would improve upon the American original that much, but they certainly have with this. This is a super dynamic instrument, nailing that 60s vibe, nailing the 60s look. I think the slab fretboard on there looks great, along with the clay dots on that, which is a nice touch. So the American original. The American Vintage 2 series. This is the 60s P bass. There's more to come. We'll be showing that stuff off as we get it. Myself, Todd, Justin, Joe. Super cool. So give me a call at the shop, 412-343-5299. Email me directly, anthony@empiremusic.com. I'll put a link below to our Fender inventory if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook. And so this might not be here by the time you're watching this video. I got a feeling these are going to kind of move quickly, especially right out of the gate here. But give me a call if you need something. Thanks.